All right, so I thought this actually was a training that Remax has done from the corporate office, so I kind of stole it because I think it's short enough for you guys to be motivated to do it. It's not so overwhelming. Uh, the start of it is going to be really the hardest part, and I am in the same boat as you guys. I could definitely use this as a manager for recruiting, but it's hard to get started. So hopefully, going over these few things will help you get into some kind of routine that it's a daily habit that you can set yourself up for success. All right. So I want to think about like what kind of agent are you? And a lot of times I think, we are a reactive agent. I am sometimes a reactive manager versus maybe agent two, who's a systematic one. So if you are thinking yourself as a business owner or you're a independent contractor, so it's tough because as a business owner or someone who does a business for themselves, you are doing so many things on so many levels. Not only, I've had, so many agents say, Mary, I don't have time for this thing. I'm out selling, right? But the fact of the matter is, let's say if I actually had a company, I would be in charge of setting up systems, doing the paperwork, make sure I'm compliant, and there's have to be doing marketing. So there's a lot of hats that we put on, plus taking care of our clients and, showing them around and listing properties and, doing all of that stuff. So if you go into agent one, there's really no defined routine. Every day, your day is different. And even though things do pop up, and of course, things, if they say like, I gotta see this right now or tomorrow, and that may kind of mess up like your whole, routine. Having some kind of system is going to help you either schedule around it and provide that structure for you to make sure that follow-up is happening, that you're consistently building your pipeline. And it's not just, pieces of paper here and there, because, we do that all the time because things come up and people call you randomly and, situations happen. But if you start every day with a defined routine and you're consistent and making sure there's like a sequence of action that you are following up on and you're intentional, I think it's going to help you be more focused, on what needs to happen. So if you are, let's start with, when you have no, if you're a reactive agent, I mean, you can kind of clearly see like sometimes how this can happen. No clear plan, react to incoming tax works and feels like scattered, hard to, measure progress, and you feel overwhelmed and you're always feeling like you're catching up. I've been there as well. I think we are all guilty of that. But if you, going to build some kind of momentum, you have a defined routine. Let's say even if you don't stick to it like to a T, but you have a defined routine. Every day you're waking up and you're doing these things and you're focused and you know exactly what needs to get done, right? And you're being consistent. And then because using, there's the systems that we're going to go over, it's trackable progress, right? And sometimes progress and leads don't actually materialize to become an actual, prospect or, someone that you're working with, an actual client. You need to track that. Okay. So this is the difference that we're kind of, comparing ourselves to. And, either you can make a choice and become a reactive agent or someone that has a system and is building some kind of routine and daily, habits that's going to help you kind of grow and build momentum. All right. So this is a self-assessment that they did, and I'm checked off of so many of these boxes. Uh, I start my day with the clear plan, and you just have to check off if it's rare, sometimes consistently. I don't expect you guys to do that right now, but when you guys do go back to the Tuesday Mastermind recording, maybe that's something like assessment that you can do. I have a defined routine, daily routine for managing my business to follow up with leads. If you treat your own business like a company and there's processes, then I think that if you have that kind of mindset instead of, oh, why why do we have to do all these things? Or I don't have time for those things. And if you have that kind of mindset, like I have to put in the system and we can provide you with platforms, but you have to work on that because you remember, you are your own company. Right. And so there's, regularly you review, you take action on your active pipeline. You're engaging with your database. There's daily activities that are aligned with our long-term goals. I have a clear way to track, and I feel like my daily work creates steady and measurable momentum. So these are some kind of like lists that you can go through and do a self-assessment, and then you can kind of give yourself points, and you'll kind of see where you end up. And a lot of times it may be that, we don't do a lot of these things on a consistent basis, right? So where it all starts is going to be your BoldTrail command center. It's in the Mac Center. You go into remax.net, use it. Make it a daily thing that you do because it'll help you focus. We all go on our computers and our phones and we check our emails, but make this another thing that you need to do on a daily basis because this is where it's all going to start. And it's only going to take you, if you do this on a regular basis, 30 minutes. So start your day. We're gonna go over. I'm gonna do a live demo, but I wanted to show you like you have to go into your dashboard. You go into BoldTrail, you go into the dashboard, and you see all the leads, the activity. You can identify like who is engaging in your, in the things that you've sent them. Hold on one second. Gotta remove. Okay, and you can kind of see where you are in far as like it's a dashboard. It gives you, the main first things that you have to kind of address. And then, you're going to connect for each one and make sure you connect with the leads. You can kind of see where they are. There's some notifications. There's tasks that you can do. So it's a really good, remember, this is a management system. CRM is a client management, a relationship management system. So it's going to help you get organized and give you tasks to do. Okay. And then there's a set up a daily call, okay? And it's a daily call task creation, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And what it does is it allows you to create a system where it says, "Hey, these are the set of people that you have to call," and it kind of gives you an assignment every single day to go in there, and you create it, and you can see, if you can set up for like 8 people, 10 people, 5 people. If you feel overwhelmed, then just do five, right? Just start by five every single day, okay? And then go through the task. So that's something that you can create, and it's a system that will give you, a task and say, hey, reminders and saying, call this people. And you can there when you have a system where you have, your contacts in there, and it's where you can actually filter through them, and you make sure you're getting to the right people. And there's different types of save filters for quick access. You can organize them by activity, by status. You can identify them by like hashtag, which I call them like groups, and you can organize them, and everybody is going to have a different type of group. You can do like A, B, C, D. A's are the ones that you already have contacts with. B's are the one, are like your sphere and your family and friends. You may not want to like go crazy with some of the things that you can do in the system. And C's are maybe like leads, and D's might be like people that you just got maybe in Hope and Us and they're not, interacting with you. So there's different ways to, divide the filters. You can also organize your, contacts by areas, okay? Or you can organize them by price, price points. Okay, or counties. So there are different ways that you can organize them, and that's really going to be the hardest part of setting yourself up here. Okay. So 30 minutes, you're going to go in, and there's going to be three things that we talk about. The CRM growth and marketing, I feel like that's something that, we're going to cover in a separate thing because, it talks about marketing. And I think that that could be a separate, and we've kind of talked about some of the marketings that you could do here as in Design Center, but it's going to be the daily follow-up and the pipeline management. Okay, daily follow-up. So you go into the dashboard and you'll see, who your leads are. So a lot of times, if you do have listings, you do get leads on your listings if they get any traction, and they will come into this section. Okay, and then you can see that there is email, call, text. You can see that sometimes a report has gone out. You can see if they open something or if they're texting on this platform. And we talked about setting up your daily call tasks, right? So it's going to be under your tasks, but we'll go into settings and I'll show you how to organize them. But you can see you auto create it, and then you can choose the people that you want to contact. So these are the set categories that we do have. They're either prospects, they're leads, they're sphere, they're active leads, they're clients. If they're, clients that are in contact, they're closed contacts. So you can choose how many, and then when to send you an email to say, hey, you need to go in and call these people. Okay, building the pipeline management. Okay, so we're here and we're going to go over this. I'll show you live where what it really actually looks like and how you can kind of go in and out through them for all the tasks. But you'll see like there's vitals where, you see that 27% of your contacts are interacting. So you're going to get a score on how well they're interacting with you and how well you are interacting with them. Okay. And there's different filters that you can use. Again, we talked about hashtags and we talked about the different types. You can see the colors on each contacts. You'll see that they're either like new leads, spears, but there's also like, you can see the hashtags that you put in. So most of my contacts come from, or my leads come from an open house. We have an open house app, and we also have the CRM BoldTrail app too. So I always have that on your phone. The only thing is you do have to make sure you log out and log in, because time to time, if like you're dormant and you're not really using it, you'll get notifications if someone's interacting with you, but you have to log out and log back in. But you can see when was the last communication, when was the last activity, and you can filter it that way so you know who to contact. Like if you are seeing that some people, one of your, contact is like looking at your stuff and opening up your email and seeing the market reports and they're viewing all of these things, then it's probably a good idea to, make sure you're interacting with them and saying, hey, how's everything going? And that's going to be part of your 30-minute routine is reaching out to your contacts, right? So these are your vitals. Again, you get a score, but you also get, these, things that you have to do. And if you didn't mark them like it was done, then it'll say you have past due tasks. Like you never reached out to that person. You didn't put that person in a campaign. Or, there's two people that doesn't have a listing alert. Do you need to work with that? Maybe the two doesn't need the listing alerts, but it's giving you that report and you're saying, oh, shoot, I better go do that. So it's a reminder and it's keeping you on track. All right. So, and again, part of being having this management system is to add notes in the timeline. You're going to see there's a huge timeline where if you scroll down all the way to the bottom of your lead or the contact you have, you'll either see that it was a manual upload by you. You can see that it came in, through your website. It could be that, they saw like your report somewhere and you put out a QR code, or you collect, again, it came from an open house. You'll see where it came from. So you see a whole timeline of exactly, what is happening with these contacts. And if you are making these calls like you should be doing as part of your 30-minute routine, you're going to add notes. And there's a section where you put on notes and you're going to say, hey, I talked about this person, about how their kids are going to go to college soon in about 2 years. And I'm either going to make a task and say, reach out to them in 6 months or in 2 years. I'm going to put notes. They are ready to move out. Maybe they'll downsize in 2 years. These are all important things that you need to put, because if you have hundreds and hundreds of contacts, especially the contacts that you're not like close with, you'll never remember what they talked about. Even like little things that will kind of help you remember, like, oh, I met this person at this event and they're really into dogs and they met him at the vet and, they have a Chihuahua. So those adding those notes are going to be crucial because when you go back to that person, it's like, oh, how is, and let's say, the dog's name, how's, Coco's foot? Is he okay? Or having those little details will immediately make sure that that person is connecting, like, oh my God, that person you remembered? Like, how did you remember? I barely remember this and that, so being as specific as you can is going to help you connect with your clients and kind of build that trust and that's really going to be important moving forward, right? All right, so I kind of did my own, and I kind of looked at what I have, and I'll show you exactly. But you see right here in the red circle, this person viewed a listing. So this guy came in, Andy Kim, through a open house, and I let my system do its thing. Again, I'm not someone who's in business, but I, helped somebody do a open house because I was very excited to use the tools that we have, and they're on my list. So uh, they're getting, listings, and I see right here that he viewed it. So, and then there's three call to action things, right? Email, call, or text. Right. So depending on if you have the phone number on there and in the open house app, of course, I made it a requirement. I put, the phone number there. So I do have a phone number. I haven't done anything, but that's something that you could do right off the dashboard. You'll see this is your to do for today because they viewed it 2 days ago. Right. And this person, James Kim, he reached out all through my app, all through the CRM. And I tried texting him separately through my phone, but he didn't respond. So I haven't talked to him for days. And I saw that I get an alert that he's on my website. And then so I said, oh, did you list your home? And he kind of made this whole comment, right? So that's again, where you are sourcing your business and making sure you're following up because following up is going to be the most important thing when you have, your contacts in this system. Okay. And so let's say I choose this email. So I clicked on the email and you can do various things and saying thank you for viewing. But if you don't want them to know that that they were viewing something, you can just change the subject line. You could actually do a little plus sign on the MLS ID. And if you are connected to the IDX, and if you didn't, please watch my video on, BoldTrail profile check. And you can actually put just the MLS number and they can send the information about that property and just say, hey, check out this property. I know you're looking at something in Cresskill, so I created this for you, right? Or you can use Smart Assistant right here in this blue box, and it actually is an AI and just say, can you write me an email saying, I want to touch base with you. Do you want to see a couple of properties that I can set up for you? And then it'll create that email, okay? And it'll kind of write it for you. And of course, from there, you can, modify it, right? And then you send it just all from here. All right, to set up the call profile, you go into your profile and you click on the profile. And then, hold on one second. And then it says the daily call task creation, right? And that's where you go to make sure you are creating the type of calls that you wanted to create, that, these are the people that I want to reach out to. Okay. Now, when you go into building your pipeline and you are into, my contacts, you see this right here in the big red circle on the left side, you'll see the new leads and that's their status, okay? But there's also different types. You can do the buyer, you can do the seller, you can do the renter. So when they are coming into your system and you're adding them, then, you can add them as some, if they're buyers or sellers or they're vendors or they're agents. And here's the vitals on top. There's some, tasks I need to do. And there's different ways to filter where in the middle it'll say last communicated. So I'll show you how that looks. Okay. All right. So. All right. So when you get into the dashboard, here we are. I want you to also think about your CRM as is as good as how robust your contacts are. Okay. What that means is if you're not putting people in there, how can the system tell you to call out these people? But you do have people in your contacts. If you don't have a master list like in a CSV file, you have to go through your phone. You could go through NJMLS or like an MLS where it's mandatory because you've sent them stuff, a listing. You have their name, you have their emails. So maybe you can do an export from the MLS. The only thing is when you do from the bulk, like a bulk import or export of your contacts, you kind of have to go through them and make sure like what they were looking for. Because when I say you need a robust contact group, you have to also know how you're going to group them so you can target them correctly. Right. So if they're buyers and they're not sellers or renters, I'm not giving them an email campaign or anything like that on renting. Right. So this is the hardest part is going through your contacts and gathering them up and kind of grouping them in a way that makes sense to you. If you feel like that's so overwhelming, because I've met with so many agents that are so excited to do this, but they feel overwhelmed to do it, then just put them in a group. Just put them in one group and just upload them all. And just in your free time, in your 30-minute routine, go through them and say, oh, that person, forget it. Delete that person, and then you can slowly kind of clean them out. Okay. But here, right here, where it says playbooks, then you're going to go into gather your sphere. And this is really such a simple way because I've worked with other CRMs and they never had this. And it says open up, and then this is how you're going to import your sphere. You can get it from your email, you can have an MLS, maybe it's the previous list that you've had. And right here where it says let us handle it for you, that's what I would do. Okay, you can do it yourself, but I had a list of agents I wanted to recruit. I downloaded them and from my, Google Sheets drive, and I just gave it to them, and I said, I put it as a hashtag recruiting agents, and then I knew what group they were in. Okay, and they do it for you. It takes about two days, and they tell you, oh, it's all been uploaded. So that's really my biggest recommendation if you feel overwhelmed about, putting them in. But if let's say you didn't get a chance to do that, please add them like 30 minutes every single morning. Oh, I met this person, this person. I'm going to put them in my CRM every morning or every evening when you do that 30-minute, routine. I would say morning is best because, if you have to call those people, maybe morning is best, or in the late afternoon, like 4 or 5. Sometimes they said might be good, but you don't want to do too late. Like let's say you're a night person and you do your routine at like 9 o'clock. It probably wouldn't be a good idea to call people at 9 o'clock. Okay, so that's the best thing that you can do. Go into when you're in dashboard on the left side, and they bring you in here. You go through the playbooks and you gather your sphere and then let them do the upload for you. Okay, they ask you a couple of questions. It has to be either Excel sheet or a CSV file. And usually, if you download it from the MLS, it is a CSV file. And then you just upload it and tell them, then group them. So, group them MLS contacts. So, you know exactly who they are and you're not lost. Like, where did this person come from? Okay. And again, you can see that you can see the report. I put in them on some kind of reports. So I'm going to go into contacts here. And you can see right here, I have past due. And it says, oh, these people are new from a year ago. I didn't do anything. Okay. So they want you to, if I go here, it'll tell you, oh, did you call and leave a message? Okay. It's giving you homework to do. Okay. So that's what you have to make sure you are getting done. All right. So Sorry, I can't move this bar. It's hard to see. Okay, there it is. So that's the task. I have everyone on some kind of holiday campaign, and so everybody is on some kind of campaign. But I would have to say, adding them in a holiday campaign was a little bit difficult. So I'm probably going to go over that towards the end of the year. So when the new year starts, we'll put them on some kind of holiday campaign. But you can see, like, if this person, if I click on here and I guess that person was looking for a North Bergen and it gets sent, it gets a search, they get listings. Okay. And this guy hasn't been reacting to anything. Email has not been opened. So it's kind of like a cold lead. But this is what you can do. And you can also add market reports here. If I say, oh, market reports versus what is that versus listings. So search alerts are actually just specific listings that they'll get if you put the criterias. And market reports is a general. So if you see that that person is really not doing that much things, you might want, and you're not sure, but let's say they came from a open house in Fort Lee, I may just put them in some kind of campaign. And right here, I mean, the market report, and it tells them, hey, 10 properties closed at this price, and there's three more listings, and the average price has gone down. It's a general report that they get to see like what's going on, okay? And you can just add it and then they'll get it, okay? And you can kind of see, and you can also change like what they are. Okay. If it's not a new lead anymore and it's kind of, you're going to work that and it's like a prospect, then you can, do that. And you can also right here, depending on like right here, the latest communication, if I click on that, it'll show me, oh, 7 hours ago, an email was sent. So that's the last thing that happened. Okay. And if maybe these are the people, that you want to reach out to, right? And I know that they're buyers. And, I may go in here and just say, she looked up some stuff. I may put some notes and say, called and asked about search. So you can do things like that to make sure you kind of know, and it'll appear right here and you can kind of see, oh, this is what I did call that person. I don't want to bother them in like 2, 3 days. So I'll just know. But it's a whole timeline of like I know exactly what that person has been doing in my system. Okay. All right, so I hope that was simple enough for you guys, that it's not overwhelming. Again, the hardest part is getting your contacts in there and then really making a decision to say 30 minutes on at this time, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and I'm going to reach out. I have a call task list. I'm going to give them a text or give them a call and see how they're doing. And really, it's building that relationship. Any questions? I hope you guys are not too overwhelmed, but again, if you start with having that system little by little, it's going to get easier. All right, perfect. All right, you guys, thank you for joining us and see you next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, you guys.